In a world overrun with an infinite amount of multiverses, originating from a plethora of sources, a group of longtime friends band together and try to make sense of it all, and present it to an audience in an easy-to-digest podcast. This is Geeking Off The Page.
Greetings, geeks. Welcome to another episode of Geeking Off The Page. As always, I'm Mike.
I'm Trevor.
And we have a Gavin.
For the first time in a very long time. Yes, you do.
We'll take it.
I am Gavin.
Will we get a Troy? We don't know.
Fingers crossed.
Nobody knows. It's unknowable.
And toes. Oh, okay, maybe not toes. So we got stuff to talk about. Who wants to lead off? Anyone?
I'll start with Knight Rider.
Of course you will.
Always Knight Rider.
Continuing the Knight Rider binge. And I want to pick up where we left off last episode, where I had just finished watching Goliath. And that was a stinker of a two-parter beginning to season 2. And since then, all the episodes have been really good. Like they're interesting, but they're fun, they're campy, but they've all been good episodes. But those 2 Goliath episodes have been real stinkers. So I've been trying to figure out a way to do a little bit of a script doctor on that and try and figure out what could make that episode really work. So picking up on the problems I had, first of all, the fact that Wilton Knight's family was essentially evil. His wife and his son, evil characters. Now, how do you change that? First of all, you don't make the woman his actual wife. You could make her like a Black Widow type character, like some
like the second or third wife.
Somebody that comes in and manipulates these rich billionaires to basically get access to their wealth. You know, picture an Amber Heard. Okay, someone like that. Picture Amber Heard hooking up with Elon Musk. You know, it's that sort of a vibe. Okay, you know, hey, that's sort of happened in real life. So there's like a precedent for that type of story. So she tries to hook up with him. She tries to manipulate him. She tries to seduce him. At one point, he goes, "Whoa, this person's crazy." Steps away. That's it. But she could be pregnant with his child. He doesn't know that Garth even exists. So that's a way to introduce a son, but kind of keep Wilton Knight in the clear. Okay.
Does David Hasselhoff play both?
Yes. Ugh. We'll keep that. No, we're going to keep that in the story.
No, why would Wilton Knight have Michael Knight surgically altered to resemble his son?
Because Wilton Knight didn't know he had a son.
And just randomly picked the exact features of...
Well, that was already part of the precedent of the original story. Like even Devin says, "Hey, it looks like you when you were younger." So there was a resemblance to Wilton Knight. That was part of the original pilot episode.
I would kind of maybe skew that a bit, that Garth is playing the long game. So when they were submitting, like when the whoever it was who was coming up with the look of the new Michael Knight, he kind of intercepted those so that Michael Knight would look like him. So at some point there could be a switcheroo.
If you wanted to work that into the story, you could.
I would.
With my premise, you wouldn't need to. It would just be a happy coincidence so that David Hasselhoff can play 2 characters. But the thing is, okay, he wouldn't have the last name Knight. And this, like, the mother character would be hooking up with all these different billionaires and warlords and all that, you know, just hopping from one guy to the next guy to the next guy to further her power game. Exactly. And so finally, they're ready for their revenge. They're going to go get the alloy of Kit and all that kind of stuff.
The molecular bonding.
Yeah.
Kitonium?
Yeah, whatever that was called. And so they're all set for their revenge, but Wilton Knight's dead. So it's like, oh, well, we can't get revenge on him, but we can destroy his legacy. So at that point, Garth could take the last name Knight. They could do all that kind of stuff. And then the rest of the story kind of works because it preserves the legacy of the Knight Foundation, it preserves the morality of Wilton Knight, and it gives a reason why Michael Knight looks like Garth Knight, because Wilton Knight never even knew this guy existed. It's just kind of a coincidence because they were basing it off the same genetic model, essentially. So that's what I would do to script doctor it, and I think the episode would be way better. All the problems I have with it, aside from some of the campiness, would be eliminated, and I think would be a solid story. So that's my
I think
pitch.
a better script doctor would be to take the script and just chuck it in the garbage can and go, no, it's just too damn hokey anyway. Let's write something original. Like Kit being able to drive across the top of water and shit like that.
That's in a later episode.
I know.
Oh, these are so good. And my sons are enjoying it, which is the best part. And they're enjoying season 2 because it's starting to kind of branch out into different things, like the fact that the episode we watched last night's in the middle of the swamp, which is neat. Like before, it's all California and deserts, and then now all of a sudden the environment's changed on that. He's getting different powers each episode, which is kind of fun, and it's exciting. It's better than anything on Disney Plus. Okay,
yeah,
I would take Knight Rider over Loki any day.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the first thing I've been watching.
All right.
So what do you guys have to say about Knight Rider? Gavin, what do you have to say about Knight Rider? Did you watch that as a kid?
I watched it as a kid. I loved it as a kid. I watched a few episodes, I think probably maybe 5-10 years ago when it had just hit Netflix or something. And I just remember when I was hitting the second, maybe third episode going, oh God, was it always this campy?
Mm-hmm.
Was it always this cheesy? I don't remember the exact episode I left off at, but I do remember very much that Carr was voiced by Peter Cullen.
Yes.
Have you encountered Carr yet?
Yeah, that was first season. And the voice was so familiar to me. And I couldn't figure it out until the end credits. Like, it was Optimus Prime. Like, what the hell? Yeah, I didn't realize originally that he did the voice of Carr. And I know because I looked up the credits. I guess when Carr shows up again, it's a different voice actor for Carr. So Peter Cullen just got the one episode. But
I will say, I just recently saw a black Honda. I think it was a Honda Accord. Someone had put the kit light in the front, and yeah, it didn't look right on that car. It really didn't. So, Gav, name something you've been watching. Give us some insight.
Well, let's see. After watching season 3 of Picard, which Amanda and I were both incredibly impressed with. It was like the member berries coupled with a gentle kiss on the forehead with the nostalgia. I loved this the final season. So Amanda decided that maybe we should start watching the originals Next Generation. Okay, cool. I'm like, well, first 3 seasons there was a few good episodes mixed in with a lot of kind of episodes, but we managed to get through all of it. And then we encountered the episode of Next Generation with Dr. Bashir on it from Deep Space Nine, and Amanda turned to me and said, I guess we got to watch Deep Space Nine now. It's like, okay, I'm all for this. I definitely remember watching Deep Space Nine back in the 90s, and because PVRs were kind of hit or miss, and if you forgot to set it up, your VHS, you would miss episodes, and if you tried to get home and catch up on the last half of it, you were lost. So I lost. I don't remember like about 80% of Deep Space Nine, honestly. So watching it is absolutely making me appreciate Armin Sherman as Quark, being able to act the fuck out of all those prosthetics. Rene Augerois was as Odo, just the amount of the empathy and emotion he could play with all that crap on his face. It's amazing. We've gotten our way up to the 5th season now. Worf is now present, and
To me,
he's
that's when it gets real good.
that's
As soon
yeah.
as Worf shows up.
I was reading some trivia on that, which was basically that a lot of the cast was really concerned they were going to go turn this into the Worf show, but turns out no, it was he blended well with the cast. Um, I think this does more hit for his for the characterization of like everyone on the show uh, than almost the entirety of Next Generation. Mostly because you start delving into basically war crimes and some serious gray or shades of gray in there.
And
But
they also introduced the best ship, the Defiant.
oh,
Tough
nice little ship.
You think that's the best?
I honestly do. It was probably because up until that point, Deep Space Nine was basically like watching a hotel in space.
Yeah.
Everything had to come to the station for things to happen. Once they had the Defiant as a ship that wasn't just a shuttle, they could finally go out and find an adventure and drag it back with them to the station for shit to happen. They didn't have to just like.
Then it started feeling more like Star Trek, and
it did, because up until that point, it just felt like the hotel staff.
Yeah.
Adventures of a hotel staff just waiting for the various visitors to come in and fuck up the hotel and the trials and tribulations.
It's it now that I'm looking at it with fresh eyes, I think I'm enjoying it even more than the original Next Generation. Definitely better characterizations. I mean, of course, Worf. I'm pretty sure one of Worf's main character aspects is he's just a shit dad. I mean, Alexander who? Sorry, who? Where?
I left him with the folks.
But honestly, one of my favorite Star Trek shows so far, short of the Strange New Worlds.
Years ago, when we started watching Star Trek Next Generation with the family, we got through all 7 seasons and then picked up on Deep Space Nine. But we did start when Worf showed up, because I figured I'd skip all the early stuff and just jump to the action. And the family loved the Dominion War, and I think my boys think that's probably their favorite Star Trek based on their comments. And I have fond memories of that whole era as well, because that was just when I got married. So this would be like around 96, 97 era when the Dominion War was full on. So date night would be to go to Alias Wayfront, where they had the big giant TV screens. We'd swing by Tim Hortons, grab a latte, and watch Deep Space Nine every whatever day it was airing. I forget if it was Wednesday or Thursday, whatever it was back then. And that'd be date night watching Deep Space Nine on a gigantic TV screen. It was great.
Very nice.
Sounds good. Well, I guess it's my turn. Where do I want to go with this? Fuck it, I'll go to Loki. So
Nothing happened. Okay, next. What else did you watch?
No, so season 2, we're on the 5th of 6 episodes for this season.
Have you watched Loki, Gavin?
I haven't touched it yet.
You're not missing much.
It's all you, Trevor.
Yeah, you're not missing much. So this one is, up until this point, this Loki miniseries, or whatever you want to call it, Loki has always been about himself. Trying to gain the throne of Asgard, trying to prove himself to be, worthy of the throne of Asgard, trying to prove himself to be better than Thor. And the first season was him kind of adrift of, trying to find out who he was. He was a variant. He learned about his, how he basically his existence, how he ended at the hands of Thanos. This season 2, he's kind of running around trying to save the TVA. And part of it is like, but you're Loki. You're not supposed to really care about yourself. Like that's a well-established trait about Loki is, in the end, he looks out for number one, and you sure the hell ain't number one. He is. So this whole season has just been them racing around trying to fix the damage of He Who Remains, being offed by another Loki. And it's been tough to watch this season. I mean, there's been little gems here and there that make it fun, but the gems come embedded in a whole lot of shit. And it's like, do you really want to dig through it? Do you want to how dirty do you want your hands to get? So this one's all about, Loki's trying to avert the explosion of the time continuum because their loom, which is taking all the different strands and making a sacred timeline, can't handle all the influx of yada yada yada. Insert techno babble. And so Loki he realizes he's time slipping and realizes that he can somewhat control it. So he has to, in essence, he has to get the band back together so that he can get to the right time to try to fix the TVA before it explodes. Because that's what happened in the last episode. The TVA exploded. And we get to find the different characters in their time streams and what they're doing. But this episode for me was just a lot of yawning. Like my jaw started to hurt after a while from just the sheer volume of yawns I was giving. I don't know
that
really...
Loki cries a lot.
Yeah, he cried, which again, Loki would only shed a tear over his own corpse. Like,
or if he was manipulating things.
Or if he's trying to manipulate something to a specific degree to make it about him again. But it's not. And it feels like they've kind of lost sight of who the character is. And like, oh, we're making the character grow. Historically, Loki has a pretty set drive to his character's goals, to his personal view of the world. Seeing his own death, that might have changed him for a little bit, but he's going to try to steer his life away from that and keep his life going. But this just I'm enjoying some of the other characters, but I'm watching this so you don't have to. That's what it's come down to now.
The legendary comic artist Kelly Jones was talking on a podcast how he was watching this with his wife, and he was telling her the whole time, is like, no, trust me, the real Loki's going to show up.
Yeah, I hope so.
He's going to show up at some point, and he's going to be a badass. Just wait. He's going to show up, and then they got towards the end of the episode. He's like, I don't think he's showing up.
Yeah, this is all emo mopey Loki, from a different time stream where he's just very emo and mopey. So I'm hoping the last episode they kind of steer the ship into better waters, but I just fear the rocks are ahead, and we're full steam ahead into the rocks.
Well, hearing everything that's been coming out from Disney now, it seems they know the writing's on the wall. Like they've basically ran the franchise into the ground, and it sounds like Disney Studios is in damage control mode, trying to figure out how to salvage this.
So this past week, there's been a couple of conflicting articles come out. Variety magazine released this thing online so the upcoming Blade movie, the actor Ali, I can't remember how to pronounce his last name. He wants it because he just got informed that he is the titular character of the new Blade movie, and he's basically fourth billed actor because they're going to have these three women who are going to be billed above him, and that the movie's going to be about.
Put a chick in it and make her gay.
It's just, to me, it's the idea of, hey, let's make a Batman movie, but not about Batman, about these three women, and Batman just kind of like swings by a window at some point. That's what it kind of feels like. Like, if you're going to have a movie about a specific character, don't make that character like a supporting actor. I mean, if you have
is that a surprise? Marvel's been doing this for the last couple of years with all their movies.
I read two different articles that one said, no, Variety has it completely wrong. This isn't what's happening. And then you got the flip side. We're like, yes, 100%. This is what's happening. They've got these three. They're currently casting three women to fill these three roles that are basically who the movie's going to be following. Blade is a supporting character in the Blade movie. How the fuck does that happen? Like, honestly.
Well, that's the MCU, which is funny. A book came out and they actually used that term in their own book.
When I was reading that, I was like, what the fuck? And the other thing I heard was Marvel right now, or Disney's playing around with doing another Avengers movie and getting Robert Downey Jr. and Scarlett Johansson, try to throw something against the wall to hopefully placate the fans. But
did you ever watch the Joe Rogan with Robert Downey Jr. on it?
I saw clips of that. He's never going back.
he was saying that, like, what would you be impressed if I, put the jersey back on? And Rogan saying, hey, a couple bad Avengers movies, and yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so he's not going back. Scarlett Johansson has publicly said she's done with the MCU. When her character was killed off, she got her solo movie, and after all the bullshit there, and she had to sue Disney for, lost wages, she's done with them. So I don't see her. I mean, it would have to be a pretty big truck full of money to drive up to her house to make her, sign that paper.
Even Chris Hemsworth was pretty disappointed with the last Thor movie.
Yeah.
And he said he would only come back if there were some serious changes.
So yeah, I can't see any of the original cast coming. Chris Evans has said he's never going to try to get his body into that shape again. When he was finally finished with Captain Marvel, he lost about 25 pounds of muscle weight to be at a weight that he could be comfortable, eat what he wants to eat, and not have to be on such a strict regimen of exercise and diet 24/7. So I doubt he's going back. So it's kind of, I don't see how they're going to plan to do that unless they're going to be paying each actor like some ludicrous, like, 6-figure sum or 8 or 9-figure sum at that matter. So yeah, it's not going to happen. It's really not.
Now, is anybody excited for the Marvels?
The what now?
I take it that's a no.
Yeah, probably not.
Gavin, you
I'm-
interested in the Marvels at all?
I'm going to see it.
But are you interested in it?
I'm honestly interested. The girl who plays Kamala, actually, I thought she did a very good job in Ms. Marvel. And from what I've been seeing, it sounds like she might be kind of carrying the movie in terms of her with her personality. And honestly, I'm intrigued.
Now I did see the fact that it's Ronan's hammer, or Ronan-like hammer. So that means there's the main protagonist is or antagonist is an accuser. So that'll be at least something. So
We'll see.
yeah, are we still going to pass
We're,
this around, or who's going to go next?
We're probably not going to be able to see it in the theater, though. We excuse me. We've decided we're getting a puppy, getting an actual factual dog,
Oh,
and
nice.
unfortunately, we're picking her up on the same day as the Marvels comes out. So we're going to just have to wait until it comes out on Disney Plus.
So you're saying that you're more interested in puppies than the Marvel's kitty cats?
Less so in terms of like kind of baiting it like that.
Yeah. I mean, for me,
More
it's
that
a
we-
case of I've got, both of my girls are testing for black belt, like a new, like first degree and second degree black belts in early December. So we're using this month to kind of get them up to speed. And there's like prep classes they have to take and stuff like that. So I really honestly cannot carve a weekend away or even like a couple hours away to go see it. So
I just don't want to.
It'll probably
I'm so done with Disney Marvel that I don't care to watch anything at this point. Now, something I do want to watch, and I don't know if you guys have seen it, Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yes.
Have you seen the movie?
I haven't seen the movie, but I've seen many excerpts from the game, and a lot of people friends of mine went to see it, and they were like, that was such a shockingly good movie. So
my kids were such fans of the video game growing up. Like, this was the horror video game when they were just little wee boys that would terrify them at night, and they knew all the lore and all the history and all the people that got killed and stuck into these animatronics and all that kind of stuff. So I know everything about Five Nights at Freddy's just through their stories telling me. And I thought that would be such a fun movie to go see with the boys. And I wanted to this week, but between the trip that I had and work schedules and getting sick this week and other family things going on and Halloween and all this kind of stuff, it's like we just didn't get the chance. I was hoping this weekend maybe, but soon, within the next few days, I'm hoping to go see it.
As long as it's a soon.
Yeah, and I heard that it went to streaming. Is that right? Went to streaming the same as the theatrical release, like both at the same time? I'd heard some story about that, and despite doing that, it's just killing it at the box office.
Yeah, I think it's on Peacock. And so in theory, I could watch it now.
Yeah. But this is one I think deserves a proper theater experience with especially with the boys, because they're so into it. And it's very rare we get to go see a movie as a family, especially for something that they get this hyped up about. So anyways, I'm looking forward to that, and I will definitely give a report. Speaking of reports, Gavin, have you watched One Piece?
The Netflix version or the
Netflix.
anime?
Well,
Yes,
either one.
watched the entire thing.
Specifically,
also started watching the anime. Although I will say I like how the Netflix show has kind of distilled everything down into sort of a palatable feast per episode. It doesn't do the endless filler episodes of like oh, he's just been knocked into the wall. The next episode involves him extracting himself from the wall. The next episode involves himself getting away from the wall.
Yeah.
That's one thing I loved about the Netflix one, is that every episode is a complete story, start to finish, and it's satisfying. Every episode, I felt satisfied after it, and I wanted more. Like, no filler. It was just condensed.
It's definitely one of the best first one of the best anime adaptations to live action I've ever seen. And honestly, if you hadn't watched any of One Piece, which I hadn't, the story
I hadn't either.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Now that I've gone back and I've watched, where am I now? I'm now on what's his name, the shark boss's island, and they're taking him on to basically do the final battle. And I think it's been about 5 or 6 episodes of them basically just like beating the people up in the compound. So I'm like, I know what I must do, but I don't know if I have the strength. It's and I mean, how many episodes was Netflix? 8 episodes, something like
8
that.
episodes.
Yeah, 8 episodes.
And then you look at how many anime episodes there are, over 1,000 episodes.
The 8 episodes are the equivalent. I think they said about 60 episodes crushed down into 8. So each episode is worth about 8 episodes.
Yeah, I think I'm on episode 56, 57, something like that, and they're still about getting ready to face off with the pirate or what's his name, the shark guy.
Yeah.
Now, after seeing the Netflix and then watching the anime, is there stuff in the anime that you think they did better? Because my son showed me a few things he thought, specifically Shanks and the sea monster. That was one where he gets his arm bitten off. When that episode happened on Netflix, my son told me they got it way better in the anime. So it's like, okay, show me the episode. And we watched that segment. And I have to agree with him. Like, the action and the way it was pulled off in the anime, I think was better than Netflix. But I don't know if there's anything else in there that
Honestly,
watching the anime, you go, oh, that was really well done.
I think my problem now is that having watched like the majority of the 8 episode arc that Netflix covers versus the 70 billion episodes that the first like pirate arc takes in the anime. Honestly, I don't really think there's a lot that they could have really improved on. Yeah, I understand some of the reasons. I understand why they kind of distilled some plot points to one thing. I enjoyed the live action renditions of a lot of the characters. And some of the characters, I mean, the dog that's in there, you don't even see the dog in the live action. And at this point, I'm kind of looking at going like, oh, okay. I mean,
You're talking about the little deer character, right?
No, the dog. There's a dog in the that's trying to defend the village.
Okay.
What's his name? The sharpshooter.
Mm-hmm.
His village, Sweet Towns, something like that. Whatever.
What's his name? Usopp?
Usopp, yeah.
Usopp, yeah.
Usopp, yeah. This dog is basically trying to defend this shopkeeper's home, and then they killed him off after 3 or 4 episodes, and it's just like, well, there was no point in that in that at all, and they completely glossed over it in the Netflix, and I had absolutely no problem with it. There's honestly so much filler episodes. It's just, I am so happy that they managed to distill the essence of the story into the 8 episodes of Netflix. I'm just so impressed with the casting. I don't think they could have improved on the casting at all. The guy they got playing, oh good lord, now I'm trying to remember the guy's name. The main character,
Luffy?
Monkey D. Luffy.
Monkey D. Luffy. Yeah, it's been a while since I picked up One Piece. They were just really well cast. Like every character felt close enough to the anime character without going completely like stereotype overboard.
And the fact that they all got signed off by the creator of One Piece, I think that's great. Like when you have the original creator signing off on the casting, that's a good thing.
Yeah, he apparently his casting for it, when he was involved in the casting, he was picking people from the approximate ethnicity from where the character's supposed to be from. So like Monkey D. Luffy is South American, something like that, and like they just managed to pick just the right feel and look for him, and it helps that the guy that playing him is just this so incredibly likable as Luffy.
I agree. I have to agree. I mean, I really liked One Piece. I liked it well enough. I showed it to the kids, and my wife watched, and she really enjoyed it. So to me, that's a high watermark if she'll sit down and watch a whole series, especially something that's derived from anime. That's a.
Amanda kept looking over my shoulder every once in a while, going like, is this a show about pirates? And then there's like a big kung fu battle or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely, kung fu pirates.
And then the in the restaurant, and like she's looking at it, what happened to the pirates? Oh, they're still there.
They're just stopped for a meal. Come on, everyone has to eat. So something else that my wife and I have been watching, Welcome to Wrexham, the Rob McElhenney, Ryan Reynolds sponsored soccer team over in Wales. We're in season 2, and not quite done season 2 yet. And this big season is all about, can Wrexham finally pull themselves out of the lower ranked league and move up? Because I don't know if you guys know about, in the rest of the world, soccer is done, especially in the UK, it's done in leagues, like you have your Premier League and so on and so forth. And there are thresholds that when you promote from one league to the next, you go from a team that has to support itself to a team that finally gets league money to like pay contracts and get merchandising and all that sort of stuff. So the Wrexham team for the last 15 years has been one league below a paid league. So the town they've rallied, they've come up with a variety of different things to try to keep the team afloat, which is one of the oldest teams in the UK. They have the oldest stadium of any stadium in the UK. So Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds bought the team and the stadium. And so at this point, the team looks like they're all set. If they can score high enough in the regular season, they don't have to go to the playoff. They just automatically promote to the next league. And this last episode, we found out that the women's team just promoted to the next league. They're finally going to be able to have paid contracts and stuff like that. So, but a lot of the episodes have been less about the team and more about the town itself or an individual player and their struggles and things like that. It's really interesting. You find out about so Wrexham, the town had a huge mine disaster like 100 years ago. Like 236 people were killed when part of the mine collapsed. Things like that. Things that shape the whole narrative of the story, and it's been really, really eye-opening in a way. So I highly recommend.
This was all filmed as like a proper documentary.
It is. It's completely proper documentary. It's really interesting to watch. It's live on FX and then on Hulu the next day, sort of thing. So highly recommend watching the season, like season 1 and season 2. Did you guys watch Letterkenny? Anyone?
I've watched a few. I've watched quite a few episodes.
Have you guys watched
just,
the spin-off Shoresy,
Have not.
No.
the foul-mouthed hockey player? Well,
Shit.
I just found out season 2 is underway. So that's what I've been watching. And it has been so much fun. It really has been far more fun than it has any right to be. If you haven't watched Shoresy yet, and you've watched Letterkenny and you liked it, especially the whole little when they go to the hockey arena and the two players are always chirping at Shoresy, who's usually you can never see his face, you just hear his voice and he's chirping back and always getting the better insults. Do yourself a favor, watch Shoresy season 1 and especially season 2 because it's picking up steam. It really
Is this the guy? Is this the guy that always gets the "Why don't you give your balls a tug"?
That too, yeah. And always talks about, well, your mother keeps making so many notches in my bedpost that it's been condemned by the city. Stuff like that. So, yeah, it is a fun, and the writing really pushes these shows really well. It's fast, witty, great writing, and and it's all about Northern Ontario hockey. It's all about the no-show.
Wee bit of an institution.
Exactly. So yeah, if you get the chance, definitely watch some Shoresy. Even just for the insults, they're really good. I can't. It's gotten to the point sometimes I have to pause it and rewind it back because I was laughing so hard I missed the follow-up joke. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Now, Gavin, I know you have season 2, Invincible. Did you watch the first episode?
I watched it today, actually. Quite an interesting opener. I was not expecting to see Omni-Man having defeated the Earth, and Invincible is basically on a repeating loop, basically saying, "Hey, come on, give up. You'll live forever. No more cancer."
Yeah, he joined his dad in taking over the Earth, and then you find out, different dimension.
Yeah. Then you see then you see him, in the main world, and he's doing everything he can to be as much of a hero as he can. Getting a little bit disillusioned. I mean,
a little bit.
watching the first season. Well, sorry, let me backtrack. When I read the first comic, I had the trade paperback of I think the first 3 or 4 issues, and I liked it. It was okay. Didn't quite know what I was getting into. Never had a chance to continue on reading it because other things had kind of distracted me. But watching the first season and watching people's arms getting torn off, well, that was an eye opener. Much like the boys. But I was quite impressed with the first episode of season 2. Breaking out the clones from prison.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't remember the other guy from the first season.
Angstrom.
Angstrom, yeah.
He's new for this whole season 2.
Yeah, and like his whole idea of basically getting every single version of himself downloaded into his brain was intriguing, to say the least. And that's where the clones came in.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Go through the multiverse, grab every version of yourself from every branch of the multiverse, because in their world they may have cured cancer, or they may have cured Alzheimer's, or come up with clean energy, And by
But what if you got one that's just a jerk?
Yeah, that's just it, though. I mean, you take all of them and then all of their collective memories and put it all in your head. Now, the prime version is the one who can make these multiverse tears and, get the stuff he needs. But by having their knowledge, he knows which multiverse to go to get the various things. So he knows, to go to multiverse 7, cure for breast cancer. Go to multiverse 31, get the cure for Alzheimer's. Go to multiverse 55 to get the cure for colon cancer. So he's going to fix the world and then, make himself rich along the way. These things happen. And then after he's cured all the ails, then he can bring in all the fun stuff. But shit goes sideways. And when he forcibly removes the helmet that's feeding all this information into his brain, and the clones are like, don't do it. You're going to blow us all up. Does it anyway. Clones were right. Shit got blown up. And when you see him and you see the fact that his skull has kind of, from the top of his skull, is missing because his brain has expanded and still inside the flesh of his head and has gone down his back like dreadlocks. That's his brain.
Pretty gruesome.
Oh, extremely gruesome. He still has his phasing power to go with the different multiverse, but still, it was just a very disturbing thing to see. And then one of the clones, half of his body has kind of like melted all the skin off. So he
some sort of fused kind of awful lump of flesh.
Yeah, it was kind of a ooh moment. Yeah. But I liked it. I liked it a lot. So I'm definitely going to be, it's just a case of waiting for each episode to come out every week. God damn it. Why can't they just, binge it at once? There's certain shows you just want to be able to binge all the damn episodes at once. Or just at least not have to wait a week. Mike, you got to get on this.
Oh,
Invincible?
Yeah, no, definitely get on it. It's obviously not going to be for your younger boys, but
come on, it's fun for all ages.
Yeah, Invincible was one I could never get into. Like, even the comic books I tried because I thought, hey, a fun new superhero. I tried and it didn't quite click.
See, the first couple of issues didn't really do anything for me either, but the first episode of the first season was enough to hook me and make me want to follow it along.
Yeah, for me, it wasn't enough to hook me. Like, I skipped through, I watched little bits and pieces. I saw where it goes and I saw the violent parts. What was it? The train or whatever that was, that whole sequence. Yeah. But for me, it was just like, meh.
I just like Omni-Man taking down their version of the Justice League. Yeah. Painfully. Very painfully. Honestly, I've tried to figure out which death was the worst of all of their Justice League or the Seven or whatever the hell they call themselves. And there's really none that really says, oh, that was a mild death. They were all pretty horrible.
It was gruesome. Gruesome.
Like, oh, look, there's more brain matter. Hey, there's a loose eyeball. There's more brain matter. This is awesome.
I will say, if you have you guys seen any of Lower Decks yet?
I've watched a couple episodes. It's just a matter of right now of timing.
I've seen bits and pieces, but it wasn't enough to get me hooked.
It's the first few episodes it's a bit Family Guy meets Star Trek, and I think that was the turnoff point for a lot of people. But for me, there was enough little gags and jokes and stuff like that. The holodeck is being used for sex. Who cleans that up? The ensigns clean that up very clearly. The ensigns have to clear that up. The fourth season of Lower Decks just finished airing with the last episode, sort of dredging up an old character from Star Trek Next Generation. Do you guys remember Lorenko?
Name doesn't ring a
Yeah,
bell.
there's a character named Nick Locarno who basically, along with Wesley Crusher, basically almost he gets drummed out of the academy, and Wesley Crusher basically has to
Right, that's the
play
same actor that ended up in Voyager, right?
Tom Paris,
Yeah.
the guy who plays Tom Paris. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
So he so the Voyager guy comes back to voice Tom Nick Locarno, and one of the continuing gags is when Nick Locarno is on the view screen, like talking to the captain of the ship. Rutherford, who's the guy with the cybernetic eye, he goes like, "I swear he looks like Tom Paris," and then Boimler is like, "No, I don't see it." And then a few minutes later, "No, I swear he's the same guy." And Boimler is still like, "No, I'm sorry, I don't see it." And of course, here's us on the outside going like, "Holy shit, that's amazing." I recommend it. Like skip it. I know it's what you do, but skip ahead a few episodes. Find something that like grabs you and just watch a little bit of it, and then try to get through it. It is a love letter to Star Trek, and I will stand by that. There's an episode taking place on Deep Space Nine. Nana Visitor and Armin Shimmerman play themselves. Armin Shimmerman, of course, plays Quark. Apparently, he kept trying to do the voice without the false teeth, which he kept from the show. He couldn't do the voice, so he had to go back, get the teeth, just so he could get the Quark voice.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That actually, what's I find even funnier is when you see characters that don't normally have to wear the prosthetics. There was an episode where Renee Auberjonois, Avery Brooks, Worf, of course, Michael Dorn, Worf was there, and then what's his name? The guy who plays Miles O'Brien. They had to wear Klingon makeup along with the Klingon false teeth. You know, the gnarly, gross-looking teeth, and you could tell just how unused they were to they just couldn't quite get the dictation out right, which really makes you appreciate just how much Armin Shimmerman, Michael Dorn, and everyone else who's had to wear these god awful false teeth and managed to say things. The guy who played Nog, he had this incredible like monologue where he had to keep saying something about self replicating servo something parts, and he had to keep saying that exact phrase again and again and again. And apparently there was a scene where he kept flubbing it up every single time until finally it was like the 30th or 40th take. He gets through it perfectly, and it almost ruins it at the end by basically like looking shocked. Fortunately, we were able to edit around it, but just the perseverance to be able to talk through those teeth is amazing. And the fact that Armin Shimmerman felt that he couldn't do the voice properly, do it justice without the teeth, speaks volumes to how much respect he has for the Quark character.
That's awesome. That's really is. I love
One thing I always wondered is Michael Dorn in the most episodes of Star Trek out of everybody.
I think he's pretty much the main, like the first.
I think he would have
the
to,
only guy,
because all of Next Generation plus a whole whack of Deep Space Nine. I don't think anybody else can compete with that.
I'm looking it up right now.
Something I always thought about.
Michael Dorn has appeared in 272 episodes, whereas Cole Meany is in second place with 211. There you go. So Worf and Chief O'Brien have been in the most episodes.
Impressive.
Do you guys know who Jeffrey Combs is?
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah,
he's
familiar.
One of his biggest roles was the Reanimator back in the day.
All right.
He's gone on to do so much. he was actually one of the first actors to play something like 8 different characters on Star Trek.
Oh,
So
right.
Star Trek
Okay.
DS9.
I just
He was
Googled him.
on
I recognize
Voyager.
him.
He was
Yeah.
on Enterprise. In fact, he was on DS9 on the same episode as 2 different characters.
Yeah, I remember that.
And he's one of those guys. He managed to pull off the Ferengi false teeth thing rather well, but you could 100% hear his voice behind every single character he played, and regardless of whether he had false teeth on, and you knew it was him the moment he opened his mouth. I mean, he played some conniving, like shithead characters, but damn, was he entertaining to watch.
Like one of the most recognizable was that Dominion dude. I forget his name.
The oh, good lord, what are they called? The guy, the weird ears.
Yep.
He's kind of like the Jemadar handlers.
Yep.
Yeah,
And then also, what's the blue guys with the antennas?
Andorians.
Andorians.
He played that on. Oh, what do they call
Enterprise.
that? Enterprise. Yeah.
Yeah, he was that kind of
Really good for that.
Well, there's doing a little sidestep. So voice actor Billy West, who does the voice of Philip J. Fry and the guy's been a professional voice actor pretty much in everything. There was a really great interview with him where he talked about, they were like, so how do you keep track of all the different voices that you do? And he's like, he has certain callbacks, like mental callbacks he does to himself to remember what he needs to do to do a certain character. And they're like, well, what's the easiest character? And he said, well, that's easy. That's Philip J. Fry. That's my natural speaking voice. And he did that on purpose so that they could never replace him on Futurama. They could never replace Philip Fry because his natural speaking voice is really hard to for other voice actors to imitate.
Yeah, he told me that actually. Like when I was at the Vancouver Expo 22, I got his autograph, got a picture with him. It was fantastic, and we were talking about the voices, and he basically said, "Yeah, my Billy, my Fry voice is my closest to my normal speaking voice." And I was just like, "Really? That's amazing." And then I did my Bender impression, which is basically more first season Bender than later season Bender, but he seemed pretty impressed by it. I mean, as impressed as a professional voice actor can be.
Yeah, but it was funny. It was just because they had said, how do you have job security? He's like, well, a lot of specialized voices, there is no job security because many people can imitate those voices. There's so many people out there now who can do Homer's voice and do it as well as Dan Castiello or even better. But he's like, imitating someone's natural speaking voice is actually a lot harder than you think. So when he was going through, when they were, originally he was not supposed to be Philip J. Fry. He was not even listed as someone to try out for that voice, but he thought, what the hell, I'll give it a shot, because he was there for Zoidberg and the Professor, and they were doing a table read, and he was like, no one's reading Fry's voice, I'll read it. And he just read it in his normal tone of voice. And they're like, yeah, that's great. Matt Groening was like, this is a great voice. Well, that's the one we want. And there had been like notes of, well, can he do it a little higher pitched or a little lower pitched or maybe put an accent? And he kept arguing, no, just let the voice come out just like this, knowing that no one's going to be able to imitate it and they could never replace him. And he was right. He was also the one who complained about The Simpsons for a while was doing like any celebrity they could get to do a voice. And he's like, these celebrities are making their money on their own TV shows. Turning them into voice actors a lot of the time is taking money out of the pockets of the actual people who are just voice actors. They're not actors who aren't, in front of the screen, but just that voice behind the microphone. So he had problems with a lot of the celebrity guest voice that Simpsons would do. There, rant over.
That's good advice for any voice actors out there.
There you go. Every once in a while, use your own voice. So earlier this week, my wife and I, kind of in the honor of Halloween, I think it was on Hulu, maybe, Haunting in Venice. This is Kenneth Branagh's third Hercule Poirot film, following in like Murder in the Orient Express and Death on the Nile, Haunting in Venice, yet another Agatha Christie novel. And he's been killing it as Hercule Poirot. Like, these are really good movies if you haven't seen them. And this is based off, of course, one of the Agatha Christie novels. And even though I have read this novel, and the second it started, I was like, for me, it was just a shift in the locale, because in the book it doesn't take place in Venice, so that kind of threw me off as to who the different characters were. But once I got that straight in my head, I knew who the whodunit was, sort of thing. But still, a great movie to watch. And there were a couple of jump scares which aren't normally in these sorts of movies, but still good. I would highly recommend you guys watch it. This is a great like late night popcorn sort of movie. So, yeah.
Man and I both enjoyed the first two, Death on the Nile and the Orient Express. Both quite entertaining.
So yeah, I would say if this is honestly, as this was a movie my wife and I, we waited till the kids were in bed, put it on. It was a really fun watch. It's not that long. I think it's like just over an hour and a half. So yeah, that's my recommendation. Watch it. It was really fun. I'm not going to spoil the ending because Agatha Christie spoiled that. I mean, this book was written back in like 70s, or maybe late 60s. So it's been around. And I think it was what was it called? Halloween Party. So yeah, this was Agatha Christie's Halloween Party. That's why it threw me off, because when it was set in Venice, I was like, I don't think the novel was, but yeah. So.
And one thing I've seen, it's just probably my favorite thing I've seen so
That's
far
right.
this year.
Other than Knight Rider?
South Park joining the Panderverse. Has anybody else watched that?
I've watched some of it. I've watched clips of it. I haven't watched the whole thing through yet.
My God, it's so much fun. It's so much of the things that have been bothering me with modern entertainment over the last few years. And they went at it so good, even though it's kind of nerfed, it's kind of kid gloves. They could have went after Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy a little bit harder, but it was a very light roast. I'd say that they were medium rare done, but just the concept of it is so great. With Kathleen Kennedy is having to make all these movies over and over and over again, and Disney has the Pender Stone, so they tap into the Pender Stone anytime they want to remake a movie and sell it to a new audience. So that's how Disney keeps selling the same movie over and over and over and over. But Kathleen Kennedy started to get a little bit too greedy, because she started getting hate mail and people weren't liking the movies that she was pandering to them. So she tapped into it so much that she actually shattered the Panderverse, and all these different variants came. And one of the Kathleen Kennedy variants was a Cartman Kathleen Kennedy, and she took over Lucasfilm, and all those segments with the Kathleen Kennedy Cartman, it's like, we're making a new movie. Put a chick in it and make her gay. Put a chick in it and make her lammy gay. She goes to the restaurant. It's like, I forget what you ordered, like a linguine. How come there's not a chick in it? I told you to put a chick in it and make it gay. Yeah, the chef was a little bit confused with that request. Yeah, it's all crazy.
Well, I saw on Twitter or X or whatever the fuck it's called these days, Gina Carano was saying how that episode encapsulates some of her interactions with Kathleen Kennedy.
Oh man, Gina Carano has been amazing on Twitter lately. Like, she's just throwing haymakers. Like, you can really see the MMA training coming out. It's like, I've been pulling some punches up till now, but I can throw a few finishers right now. Oh, it's so entertaining watching her go off, because I like Gina Carano and everything she's done as far as interviews and like anything she's put out there. I think she comes across as a legitimately good person who's been kind of screwed over by this entity, which is Disney. And just seeing her open up a little bit and, throw some opinions out there, I think has been great. Yeah. So her response on the whole, yeah, they'll probably send their minions out after, Matt Stone and Trey Parker, just to, I guess, go after them for going after Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah.
But throughout the whole episode, the whole gender swaps and stuff that they do, and PC Principal is hilarious, where they're saying, it's like, something's wrong with Cartman. It's like, what? Do you have a problem just because suddenly now he's a black woman? Like, you have the problem. It's like, what? No. All that stuff's great. And then even the side stories are amazing, where Stan's dad is trying to teach the kids a valuable lesson because they don't know how to do anything around the house and the oven door's broken. So it's like, kids, you have to learn these skills. Okay, I'm going to teach you how to fix this door. First of all, you pull out your phone and you call the handyman. And then there's this whole side story where the handymen are doing everything in town because everybody's lost any practical real world skills. So now these handymen are become these multi-billionaires, and they become like an analogy of Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg. And they get so much money that they want to have an MMA fight to see who's the best. And they challenge each other who's going to go into space first. And it just gets absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, I've been watching South Park ever since it was the pilot episode. And the fact it's still going strong with an episode like this is incredible. And it just takes everything that's in the zeitgeist right now and everything I've been talking about and puts it on screen in a way that I just like, yes, that's exactly it. So anyways, if anyone wants a good laugh, South Park joins the Panderverse. You have to watch that one.
All right, will do. Anyone got anything else?
I have a couple shows I watched on an airplane, or a couple movies.
Mm-hmm.
I watched Dungeons and Dragons, and I thought it was meh. Like, it didn't feel like Dungeons and Dragons to me, even though it had all the callbacks. It didn't feel like a proper Dungeons and Dragons campaign. So I was kind of like,
it was a side
on a
quest.
plane. Yeah, it was a bad story. It's like, did you ever have a campaign where you're just trying to bring your wife back to life or something? Like, it's kind
Can't
of
say that I have.
it seemed like a weak premise, but if you're trapped in a plane for
I
2
I
hours.
will introduce just about everyone's character concepts as a weak premise.
Yeah, so that was it. I don't know. I wasn't impressed, but just for a fluff film, fine. Corner Office is one I watched. That's the one with what's his name, John Hamm.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's just in this like monolithic building, and he's new working in this office, and basically the gimmick is he finds this office nobody else knows is there, and he goes there and he does his work, and everybody thinks he's crazy because he's just standing around in a hallway all the time. It's a very lightweight kind of psychological thriller. I think it could have gone deeper, but it's like, it killed a couple hours. And the other one was The Apartment, the old film, Billy Wilder. And that was a kind of fun one. Basically, this guy, again, working in an office, but he uses his apartment for everybody he works with to bring prostitutes home. And so he can't go back to his own house because everybody else is constantly bringing women back there. And, a kind of interesting film. It's very Seinfeld-like in the way it's executed. Just a whole bunch of crazy shenanigans happen. He falls in love with the elevator girl, but the elevator girl was his boss's ex-fling, and the boss was saying he was going to leave his wife to be with the elevator girl, so she was still attached with him, and it just creates all this chaos. But so that one was kind of fun. My brother always told me to keep watching all these Billy Wilder movies, and so it was a good excuse to see one of them. So those were a couple other ones I watched while trapped on an airplane.
All right. So I'm going to spin you guys a little tale. So
Okay.
a couple weeks back, I actually wanted to speak back like a couple weeks ago when I lost power and suddenly cut out. So I had watched someone playing the new Spider-Man 2 video game.
Put a chick in it and make her gay.
And it struck me as probably one of the better told Spider-Man stories that we've seen in the last while. Probably, a good at least 5-6 years.
I just saw the Black Cat thing, I saw that clip. I was like, oh my God, no.
The,
Why?
the for me, the storyline, I mean, it's a strong enough premise. It's in essence, it's Craven's last hunt. Craven the Hunter is seeking a worthy opponent to hunt. We find out he's got like stage 4 cancer. He's dying of cancer. So he doesn't want to die in his bed. He wants to die hunting the greatest foe he can find. He eventually he narrows it down. He wants to hunt Spider-Man because he takes out the Scorpion. He has his people watching the Sandman. And I mean, he kills the Scorpion. We see at one point, we see a set of vulture wings. So he took out the vulture and he takes on Spider-Man and ends up taking his hunting knife and jamming it like up under the ribs of Peter and snapping the blade off inside of Peter's body. And realizing that Peter Parker is just not worthy of him for his final hunt. At the same time, what's his name?
Does that mean he's dead? Is Peter Parker dead?
No, just listen, just relax.
Get on with the story, Trevor. Come on.
Peter's friend, Osborn? Harry Osborn has come back. He's sick, but he's got Kurt Connors is helping him, deal with his illness. And it turns out he's using the symbiote, which they don't realize is a symbiote yet, but they're using it to try to boost his health. The symbiote latches itself onto Peter and ends up saving his life. And this is how they, and that's in essence, set the stage eventually for Venom. So Peter with the symbiote takes on Craven again, but is unwilling to kill because he still has his moral compass, although that compass is starting to get a little skewed. He succeeds in getting, with the help of Miles Morales, getting the symbiote off Peter. It rebonds itself to Osborn and turns him into Venom. And Venom
Osborn is Venom?
Well, in this case, we don't have Eddie Brock. But Venom versus Craven is an unfair fight because you get to control Venom in this fight, by the way. And you end it by biting off Craven's head. Like, there you go. You just got a headless corpse of Craven. That's how you finish off Craven. There you go. There's your final hunt, buddy. You didn't get the trophy. And then as Peter, you've got to take on Venom because he's trying to take over the city and bring more symbiotes in and all this other stuff. And you eventually end up beating Venom, separating the symbiote from Harry. And Harry's dad says, well, give him the G serum or Serum G to try to save his life. So this is setting up for the third video game franchise to Green Goblin. But what got me was the story for this video game has been so much better than what we've seen in the films. You have a strong, very strong villain. You have a hero that goes through, May's dead. He's trying to get through, setting up her house, trying to figure out if he's going to sell the house he grew up in or is he going to keep it, trying to come up with financial resource to do that at the same time, be Spider-Man, be a mentor to Miles Morales as Spider-Man.
Why is Aunt May dead?
She dies at the end of the first game.
Oh.
As does Harry's mom. So Harry, with his dad's help and money, they put together a foundation for the two, basically Aunt May and Harry's mom, which ends up getting destroyed. Peter blames himself. Harry blames Peter. Peter blames the symbiote. Yada yada yada. They all blame Craven because it was his crew of hunters that came in and pretty much torched the place. Plus, you have this whole thing. There's this cult of the first fire that's running around, and it turns out the cult leader goes by many names, and one of his aliases is Cletus Cassidy.
Oh no,
Carnage, and he gets a sample of the symbiote hijacked from a train that he's been after the whole time because it's been calling to him. So this is going to set up Carnage in the third game as well. Because at one point Peter has the option, has the chance to take this guy out because you're working with, what's her name? Wraith. I can't think of her name now. Uses a scythe on a chain. Anyway, she's after him. He ends up getting away with his hands on the symbiote. He just has to unlock and open. And so there we go. We're going to have Carnage soon. It'll be the Cletus Cassidy psycho, serial killer Carnage. But as I said, it was the writing in this game that really pushed it over the top.
So did you actually play the game, or you just?
I just watched it, but at one point, I was in Walmart, and I had my hand on a Spider-Man 2 edition of a PS5, like hand on the handle. It would have taken nothing to just simply pick it up and put it in the cart and bring it home. And then I probably would have died about 4 hours later when Mare got home and killed me. So a little bit of self-realization and survival instinct kicked in, and I took my hand off the PS5.
I got a PS5. Do you, Gavin? Do you have a PS5?
Not yet.
But this
Not
is the
yet.
closest I've come to getting a PS5.
I thought you would have, Gavin.
This game was,
I have a PS5 game. I just don't have the PS5.
it got me right to the threshold of actually buying a PS5 without doing it, without pulling the trigger. And
I
I
almost
had like,
bought it.
it was, what's that?
I almost bought the Spider-Man 2 game, even though I did not have a PS5.
Well, the thing is normally, because this one was the fully loaded PS5, the sides are all branded with a Spider-Man 2 and came with a copy of Spider-Man 2, normally $8.99, and they had it on sale. I could have paid, I think it was $5.89 with all the different rebates, like instant rebates. It would have been $5.89 out the door, and I was just like,
American, that's like $1,000 Canadian.
it's 35,000 Canadian. But I was just like, I can't do it because I get home, I'll get about 3 hours of play into it, and then Mare will come home, and then there'll be an hour of digging in the backyard and rolling my corpse into the hole, and then kicking the dirt over and saying, I don't know, he just didn't come home.
It's funny that you have to do that yourself.
Yeah, I know. She'd make me dig. You
have to dig the hole and roll the corpse in.
Yeah, she would make me dig the grave and roll in there, and then you just pour. Are you burying me? Shut up! You're waking the neighbors. So yeah,
and she does listen to the podcast, right?
Yeah, I know she does. Yeah, and I know she would have killed me if I'd bought a PS5, because mainly, we don't have the time with 4 kids. You really don't have time. Like 4 young kids, you don't have time to play video games. At least I don't. So yeah,
my wife didn't kill me.
I know Meredith really well. I would have been killed, and justifiably.
Too risky.
So. Yeah, too risky. I mean, we got the Switch, the kids play it, stuff like that. That's fine. But a PS5 is a little bit above what like Fred or Harrison or Josie, or maybe not Josie, but maybe Ramona could handle. So, and there's not a whole lot of like little kids games on PS5s. So, yeah, that's where that self-realization comes in. It's like, oh wait, yeah. I'd be dead. But this is the closest I've come. This is how much I really enjoyed, because I've played the first game. Played at a friend's house. I played it for about 25-30 minutes. The first game was awesome. I love the swinging mechanics, the combat mechanics. This one adds a whole thing where you get like the web wings and you can glide, and there are air tunnels or like air drafts that you can fly through, or updrafts off of certain buildings you can get up. So
I would have so much fun with that. That's just, I'm too old school. I want just Peter Parker Spider-Man. Give me the stories from the comic book. Don't put any new agenda stuff in it. Just like give me classic Marvel Spider-Man stories.
See, with this one, you get to play as Peter Parker, and kind of like in GTA.
I don't even like the costume with the white spider on it. I know you can change the outfits.
There's like 70 costumes in this game.
I know.
Including
the fact they make that one the main front and center. It's like, oh, come on.
I gotta say that like you have a PS5. I think Spider-Man is on PS Plus or whatever whatever they call it. I own the special whatever version of Spider-Man that came with all of the DLC and everything. And it's the best goddamn Spider-Man game I've ever played. You have a PS5, Mike, and you have access to the PS5 remastered Spider-Man that was on PlayStation 4, which to me is one of the best goddamn Spider-Man games I have ever played.
I do think my son owns it.
You got to play it. Try it. At the very least, experience the web swing. That is one of the most serene and surreal experiences I've ever had in a game. If there's one thing that Insomniac games has perfected, it's their traversal system through a world. Sunset Overdrive, which is one of the games that they made for Xbox, pretty much the only game they made for Xbox, had an incredible grinding kind of thing where you can grind on wires, kind of like a skateboard kind of thing. Way better than it sounds. But and when my friends were telling me, oh man, you gotta play Peter Parker, you gotta play Spider-Man and swing through the city. It's unreal. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, it can't be that good. It can't be that good. And the first time that I managed to figure out how to like do the single thwip, the double thwip, just doing the acrobatics in the air, there's fast travel. I don't want to do fast travel. I want to swing through the city.
The other thing is they have modeled the entirety of the 5 boroughs. So, and they added all of the Marvel stuff in there. So you can swing by the Baxter building. You can stop at Doctor Strange's place on Bleecker Street. You can go to the Avengers Tower. It's all there. So you can hit all the things that you would find in the Marvel version of New York City. You can go to the Bronx Zoo. You can go to Central Park. You can go to Coney Island. So yeah, and the amount of detail, but also the amount of accuracy they did putting the city together makes it that much more fun. And I will say the first Spider-Man had a very fluid combat system. Like you can switch from opponent to opponent. Your spider sense kicks in, and it almost becomes second nature. The controller rumbles a bit as the spider sense, the danger gets really more imminent of you taking the hit, and it's just very easy to dodge out of the way and use that dodge as part of the attacking to the next person and the switching. And from what I understand, the fight mechanics in the new game number 2 are even that much better. It's even that much more free flowing and more Spider-Man-esque. Like Spider-Man isn't your traditional martial artist in terms of very structured and rigid. It's all just instinctual fighting, and they really have captured that essence. So,
did you ever play Arkham Asylum, Batman Arkham Asylum on 360 or PS3?
Honestly, I found Spider-Man to be the combat system better than the Batman games.
100% better, 100% better. But you can see where Insomniac got its inspiration from. And once they sort of got that smoothness down, then they added the Spider-Man flair, the seamlessly going between opponents, like zipping through their legs, and like Batman's combat was basically just brutal, like strike, like joint strikes and the like. But you could see Peter, like Spider-Man, showing restraint. Like he's not trying to injure them. He's trying to just take them out of the fight.
Yeah, and you can do stuff like there's things like you can use the webbing to like zip between their legs or pull them up in the air or web them against the wall or take them out of the fight. I'm really hoping that in the third game they have a section where you get Peter gets to train with Shang-Chi and do like the way of the spider and kind of refine his fighting style a bit more. I think it would be a nice added touch because you're going to be taking on Carnage, you're going to be taking on the Green Goblin, maybe Hobgoblin, and the rest. I mean, Rhino hasn't showed up, so he's next at some point. And Stiltman's got to show up somewhere. But yeah, to me, it's again, it was more of the story element that made me almost buy it because it was just, it's kind of what I hope that the upcoming Craven movie would have, but is obviously not going to. And the tie over between Spider-Man and Craven would have, but is obviously not going to, because in the game, Craven is not a small guy. Like he's big, but he moves extremely fluidly when you fight him. Like it's like almost like fighting the wind. Like he's always a step ahead of you, even though he's just a human. Yeah, he's enhanced. But tactically, he's always just half step ahead of you until you get the Venom suit, and then you can level the playing field. And then when you are Venom, Craven really doesn't stand much of a chance. You really get an understanding of just how powerful Venom is unleashed when you fight Craven as just Spider-Man, and then Spider-Man with a symbiote, and then as Venom. It is 3 different tiers of combat. It really is.
So why do you switch over to play as Venom?
basically, so the game has the aspect of you play as Peter Parker. You can switch to Miles Morales pretty much at any time, but there are certain missions where you'll play as like Mary, like Mary Jane, and you got like a little stunner because you're trying to investigate something. And there's a sequence where after you get the symbiote off Peter, the symbiote basically jumps back onto Harry and runs free. So they let you experience the game as Venom. Now you get to see what just being Venom is like. And then when you have to fight Venom, you kind of appreciate it in a way, but at the same time, you're like, God damn it, the game's cheating because he's a lot harder than, yeah. So, but at some point you meet up with what's his Anti-Man? It's the guy who's like Mr. Negative. So he's like all like negative, and he will
Mr. Negative.
Yeah, you do this whole thing where you go through your mindscape as Peter Parker, and you gain the anti-Venom suit. And that's the only way you get to take on Venom with any sort of hope. Because just as Spider-Man, you're fucked. You really are. You're so outclassed fighting Venom.
All that to say, Mike, try the first Spider-Man. The story is not going to be like a rehash and basically copy and paste of like the comics, but it's a damn fucking good story. Let me just put it this way. At the end of the first one, I was actually in tears. Like the writing was that good.
You just cry over everything, Gavin. See? Not that bad.
It was a good podcast.
Yeah. But yeah, I would, as I said, this game story-wise made me almost buy a PlayStation. So, but the game itself, the writing on these games is fabulous. Again, so I just recently watched what is it? The Justice League. Is it Warmonger? Is that what it's called? The newest. It's one that came out on Max. It's their. Hold on, let's see if I can follow it. Sorry, Justice League Warworld, and it's 3 short stories, and in each one. You know who Superman is, you know who Batman is, you know who Wonder Woman is, but they're not themselves. One of them takes place in the Old West with Wonder Woman. One takes place in the like the Middle Earth with the Warlord who kind of looks like Oliver Queen. And the last one's like almost like a Roswell sort of situation. And it's again superior writing to any of the live action DC shit that's come out in the last 10 years easily. So much better than and this was like a part 1. They're going to be releasing I think a part 2 pretty soon. It'll be like Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earth. And yeah, this was so much better.
Why is it a cowboy Wonder Woman?
Because what it is they're stuck on Warworld. And Mongol is trying to brainwash them to get them to turn on to his side. So in the Wild West, it's a kind of like a last stand sort of thing. Wonder Woman rides into town as like the unknown stranger, and Jonah Hex is there, and there's a bunch of townspeople holed up in a little compound at the end of town that he's basically been hired as a mercenary to take them out because they're, screwing up the mine sort of thing. And she doesn't agree with what's going on. She ends up fighting Jonah Hex. She ends up kicking the shit out of people because she still has her powers. She just doesn't realize she's Wonder Woman. Even though at one point, Jonah Hex calls her a wonder. And you see for a second she pauses.
Wait, so how does this work? Because it's a video game, so you're playing as Wonder Woman?
No. This is a movie. This is like a little short movie on HBO.
Oh, I thought we were talking video games still.
No. But I just saw this one recently, and this is the thing where how come is it the video games, the video games and the cartoons have so much better writing than the live action stuff? Like these live action movies have just been like, where are they pulling the writers from? And why is Kathleen Kennedy influencing them all?
Because the Panderverse, that's why.
Yeah. So this Justice League Warworld, if you get a chance to watch it, it is very, very good. as I said, it's 3 short stories. First one happens in the Wild West with Jonah Hex. Second one is on Sikaris, which is like the inner world with the warlord Travis Morgan. It's a lot of Batman. And then the third one is like in the 1950s, the whole UFO scare, and it's Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman as Clark Kent, Trooper Wayne, and Diana Prince is just a person in the diner sort of thing. And then they finally get contacted by the Martian Manhunter, who's been trying to break through to them to stop the brainwashing. And then everything goes to shit from there. And that's where we're going to set up the next movie. So again, superior writing, far superior writing. Like when we get like the Flash where he's saving babies and putting them in microwaves. Yeah. So I still, long time ago when the DC live action universe was starting, why didn't they just hire Bruce Timm to helm it? Like, it would have solved so many problems. It really would have. But no, instead we got Zack Snyder and the current crop of garbage that I keep throwing up there. I haven't seen Blue
Honestly,
Beetle yet.
I'm really worried about James Gunn doing Superman. Like, the more I've watched things, and after Guardians 3 and realizing his certain tone that he always has with writing, I was thinking about that a lot because of Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
And how Joss Whedon had this certain way he could pull humor from all the different characters. Like, everybody was a very distinctive character, had their own personality, and the dynamic between all the characters came from that strong personality type. Whereas James Gunn, if you look at Guardians 3, it's like everybody in all the movies in the entire galaxy, the whole James Gunn dimension, has the same sense of humor, the same timing. Everybody likes to listen to music. Everyone hates their dad because they're racist. Like, it's all of that. Like, are they going to stick that to Superman?
Well, we don't know. I mean, maybe Jor-El was racist, and Kal-El's going to be like, good, fuck my dad, he's dead because fucking racist.
Yeah, let's listen to some records.
Yes, let's put on some ABBA.
Like, I'm so terrified how bad it could be. I hope it's not. I don't know why they didn't just say, Mark Millar should write Superman, but he's with Netflix, so he probably won't. What are you gonna say, Gav?
I'm just gonna say they can't fuck it up any worse. I'm sorry, but ever since like watching, like I enjoyed Wonder Woman, the original. I
I did too. I
it.
really liked it.
Shazam, I very much enjoyed. Aquaman, I think there was a lot of scene chewing in that movie, but I think overall it was better than almost anything that had come out. Anything in the Snyderverse has really just like Batman versus Superman. Martha, what'd you say?
I don't even Man of Steel, seeing Superman snap a neck. It was such a like, what the fuck? And then seeing, Batman versus Superman. Hey, Batman's got rotary cannons on his car and on his plane. And those people aren't living. I mean, those people he's shooting with those rotary cannons are not like, it's not like the A-Team where the helicopter slams into the cliff and then slides down and lands on the road and they get out smoking and shaking. None of those guys walked away from Batman's shenanigans smoking and shaking. They were like riddled corpses. And which is 100% against the whole tenet of Batman of he does not kill. Superman does not kill. I mean, him killing Doomsday was such a big thing because he reached that point where he realized the only way to stop Doomsday was to kill him. That was a big, way back in the death of Superman, as bad as that whole storyline was, that was a big point. The fact that Superman willingly took a life. And then, Zack Snyder comes along and goes, oh, yeah, Superman will kill. Batman will kill. In the Snyderverse, they kill. But, that's just like saying, hey, I'm going to be inspired by the story of this gorilla who saved this little girl. And I'm going to make a movie about aliens that rape dolphins. Why don't we just throw all the source material out, just keep the names the same? Because that's pretty much all Snyder did.
Speaking of Zack
Yeah.
Snyder, do you see the trailer for Rebel Moon?
I have.
And what do you think? Like, I don't have much hope for it.
I don't. I mean,
I like crazy science fiction fantasy, but
I'll say this: Snyder has a good eye for visual, but has absolutely zero fucking sense when it comes to story. Like he really needs to hire that 4-year-old to be on the writing staff to poke out all the giant plot holes that even a 4-year-old could see.
the one from the gorilla and the dolphin movie.
No, the one from the zombie movie, the War of the Dead, where the whole thing they're going to steal $200 million that would not fit in the helicopter nor be light enough for the helicopter to fly away in. Like I still am pissed at that one because it's like it took me less than 2 minutes on the internet to figure out the dimensions of $200 million and the weight of $200 million and then the interior dimensions of the helicopter. If the helicopter pilot was worth her salt in any way, she would have been like, there's no way we're going to fit that much money in the helicopter. And we wouldn't be able to take off at all, nor have anybody in the helicopter with me. The money will have to fly itself out. That would have been so easy for them to say, hey, okay, instead of us going after cash, in Vegas, the week that the zombies attacked, there was a giant like diamond convention. There's $8 billion worth of diamonds in the vault of this hotel. You just have to come in and steal it, and you can carry it out in a couple of briefcases.
You know what? That just
been
reminded me of a documentary I watched on an airplane, the $1 billion heist. Have you seen that one?
Yes.
That was fascinating. Just you talk about fitting, hundreds of millions on a helicopter.
Mhm.
Maybe think of that. The whole storyline.
Have you ever seen the movie Brewster's Millions with Richard Pryor?
Yep.
There's a beautiful scene in that movie where they go down into the vault and they show him the $30 million he needs to spend in 30 days. And it's 3 pallets of money. And it's all in hundreds. And I remember as a kid going, wow, that looks like so much money. And then as later on learning that the prop director for that particular movie made sure that each pallet was as big as it needed to be to represent $30 million. And because he wanted people to be staggered by how much money that really is. And then a while back, I was watching something on the History Channel and they were showing how much space $100 million takes. Because they wanted to, and they started out, the guy was talking about was the history of money. He was like, this is a dollar bill. This is a $10 bill. This is a $100 bill. And this is $10,000. And he held up and you see it in every movie, that the big stack of money with the band around it. And he's like, this is $10,000. And then he steps to the side and there's a table behind him. He's like, that's $1 million. But if we really want to get into it, he stepped to the other side and pointed, and he's like, that is, I think it was $150 million, which was the most recent Powerball jackpot. He's like, that's what $150 million looks like. And it was an enormous pile of money. And that was like, oh shit. So back at Brewster's Millions, when they show those 3 pallets, $10 million each, that's how much $30 million looks like. And the whole idea is he's trying to get 300 million if he spends the 30 million in 30 days, which would be even 3 bigger stacks. So that's why when I saw that movie and it's like, we're after $200 million, I'm like, flying out in a helicopter, that's a lot of weight. And they just had like gym duffel bags. And I'm like, how many trips are they taking to the helicopter? How many trips is the helicopter coming back and forth to take it, to evacuate the money and the people? This is going to be several days of flying, and they have 24 hours to do it. And to me, that was the hallmark, especially when this whole movie was written by Zack Snyder. So that means he came up with a premise, came up with a concept, and no one said, hey, Zack, have you looked up how much space $200 million takes, or how much it weighs, or the lifting capacity of that helicopter? To me, that's just lazy ass writing. So when I saw Rebel Moon, I'm like, visually, there's a lot of really interesting, cool things visually. But it's probably going to have a story thinner than water soup. Yeah. So, and to me, the DC films he did, the Snyderverse, back that up. A lot of great visual moments bound together by the thinnest story you can find.
Yeah, I liked a lot of Watchmen, but again, that's Alan Moore that he's basing it on,
Yeah,
and he screwed up the ending.
major. And yeah, it's stuff like that that kills me. I mean, you have such great source material. How can you not put it together properly? Like what's the yeah.
And that gets back to Marvel and the whole thing. You have since the 60s, you have all these great comics, all these great stories. And what have they done the last like 4 years or whatever it's been? They haven't tapped into any of it. Well, they're jumping right to these new modern, all new Marvel characters. Nobody cares.
There's this thing going around about how Marvel's talking about removing Kang as the big bad of Phase 5 and 6 and replacing him with Doctor Doom. Which honestly, I'd be fine with. I mean, because it's
a great idea if they can establish the Fantastic Four properly.
Well, part of it is
if you
Jonathan
can't do
Majors
that, it's not going to work.
Yeah, Jonathan Majors is going through some legal issues, and they're like, well, to try to distance himself from that, they want to either replace him as someone else's Kang or just go right to Doctor Doom. And I think
honestly, story-wise, he's a lame big bad because he's just a red shirt. We talked about that already.
Yeah, the problem is like in Quantum Mania, he needed to kill either Scott or Cassie or the Wasp. He needed to finish that movie as a winner. He needed to like send Ant-Man home broken.
If he's going to be a big bad.
Yes. If he's going to be a big bad, Ant-Man should have returned from the quantum universe. Maybe Hope's dead. The mom's dead. The daughter's dead. Henry Pym is a broken man. And Ant-Man's a broken man because his daughter's crippled or she's trapped there and he can never go back. Something so that Kang won. Then you're like, all right, he is a credible threat. He's a big enough threat that Ant-Man by himself is not going to be enough. You're going to need a whole fucking ensemble to take him on. Instead, Ant-Man kicks his ass. And to me, that was, by the end of that movie, it was like, all right, so Kang is a joke. Loki, the Disney Plus Loki can try to build him up all they want, but he's already been established as a giant joke enough that Ant-Man beat him. And
he already died in Loki.
Yeah, he's died in Loki and got his ass kicked in Ant-Man. I'm not afraid of him anymore. We need a better villain. I mean, they had Thanos for the first big setup. Doom would be a really great follow-up.
But you need the Fantastic Four for that to work.
Kang could have been a good follow-up if he actually could follow through with, the threat. But he can't. So, yeah. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen. But at the same time, I'm kind of be like, well, maybe, I don't know. Let's watch something else. Maybe Godzilla -1. I kind of want to watch that one. Because it seems like only the Japanese can do Godzilla right. So, yeah. All right. Anything else?
I got nothing else.
Nope, I'm done. Troy, you have anything?
We'll find out. So, all right. So at least, we got 3/4 of the gang back together.
Hooray for that.
Yay!
Woot, woot.
There we go. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be seeing the Marvels this weekend. I got other stuff coming up this weekend.
I know if I will be.
Don't they come out like Friday or something? Doesn't it come out Friday?
Doesn't matter.
I don't know.
On the 10th.
All right, yeah.
Lots of open seats.
I got other stuff I'm doing this upcoming weekend and the weekend after, so I don't know if that's going to happen. Maybe to Disney Plus it goes. But I will catch Friday Night at Freddy's. Or was it
Five Nights at Freddy's?
Five Nights at Freddy's. It's on Peacock, and I have a subscription to Peacock.
I'll be going to the theaters for this one. Next weekend, we'll talk.
Well, I can't take my kids to it, so.
Why?
I kind of want them to sleep at night. And I think if
shit their pants.
If they're having a lot of nightmares, that kind of defeats the purpose of them sleeping at night.
No.
Yeah. It's the last thing I need is Freddy screaming about animatronic bears coming to kill him. That's just or even
Just
Josie.
tell them they're your bears. It's okay.
Oh yeah, that would just. Oh,
Gotta be good. Otherwise, the animatronic bear's gonna get you.
oh yeah, that's just not even a yeah.
On that note, collective goodbye.
Sure. In 3, 2, 1.
Collective goodbye.
I think that
Oh, we're definitely out of practice.
Yeah. Well, it's better than some of the ones we've done in the past. So I'm going to say
When
kudos
we
to
were
people.
in practice.
Yeah, I'm going to say kudos to people who got through this whole podcast because we barely did.
All right, boys.
Good night, folks.
Until next time.
You have just been listening to Geeking Off The Page, a Planet Geek production. Please be sure to like, subscribe, share, and review. You're welcome to follow us on our social media platforms. For Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok, search for Planet Geek Productions. On X, former Twitter, and Instagram, search for Planet Geek Pod. Or you could also send us an email at planetgeekpod@gmail.com. So, until next bat time, same spider channel. The truth is out there. So say we all. May the force be with you. Yes, have some. And thanks for tuning in.
And I should do a record too.
Yeah,
just for
people should
safety.
record as well. I've had a history of getting corrupt files. I will allow that recording. I will allow that recording. All right, who wants to kick us off?
I'll go for it. Greetings, geeks. Send request.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby and have ourselves a snack.
And we're back.
Mr. Burns' voice, of course.
Absolutely.
Request. Yada, yada, yada.
There we go. All right, Gavin, rant continues. Go.